Hello students, welcome to my channel Agricultural Engineering Online with continuation of video lecture series on farm machinery. In this lecture, we will discuss in details about soil tillage and implements involved in tillage. As we know, tillage is an age-old agricultural practice. In the ancient times, men used to disturb the soil for placing seeds to produce more foods to cater increasing population. Later, the practice modified to different innovative procedure and subsequently different tools and implements were used for crop production. In this lecture, you will be able to understand the basics of farm machinery, probably the introduction to different machineries and their functions. You will also be able to know the objectives of tillage, how tillage affects the soil dynamics and characteristic, what are the different implements used for different purpose and conditions, as well as you will be able to categorize different methods of plowing and tillage operations. Let us discuss what is tillage. Tillage is physical or mechanical manipulation of the soil with tools and implements resulting in good tilth for better germination and subsequent growth of crops. So basically you need to prepare a seed bed for proper germination and growth will be subsequently done by the crop. So let us see when the tillage has to be done. Tillage has to be done at proper time with proper implements for good tilth for a proper a particular type of crops for its need. It is generally achieved through primary and secondary tillage. We will discuss about what is primary tillage and what is secondary tillage, and it also includes the seedbed preparation, which is the most important part, where actually the seeds need to be a proper conducive environment for their germination and growth. Let us discuss what is the different types of tillage. So first of all, minimum tillage, or sometimes it is also called as zero tillage. So where it is for some of the crops, the soil need not be disturbed much, so it is not necessary. So less manipulation of soil is done, minimum manipulation, that is called the minimum tillage. Then strip tillage, generally the soil is tilled in isolated bands, you can see here, of the soil, so that the crops can be grown on that band. So there is no need to again disturb whole soil of the land. Rotary tillage, so basically the rotary tillage is operation employing the rotary actions of cut, break and mix the soil, generally done for some of the crops where intensive water requirement is there, especially rice and other crops. Mulch tillage, basically it is the preparation of soil in such a way that plant residues or other things, generally mulching materials, are specially left on or near the surface, so that the growth of weeds and other things can be prohibited. Combined tillage, basically the operation where actually simultaneous use of machineries, basically two or more implements can be used simultaneously, so that all the works can be done, means control of weeds or other things can be done, like back to back operation can be done at one go. So this is called the combined tillage. These are the simple different types of tillage. Next, going to the primary tillage, the classification. What is primary tillage? Primary tillage is the opening of the compacted soil with the help of different tools and implements. So basically the ploughing is the primary tillage operation, are preferred mainly to open the hard soil. So inversion of mud in case of rice cultivation and other things, where actually mud has to be done, so mud has to be inverted so that proper mixing of the soil takes place. Uprooting of weeds and stubbles, so the remaining crop residues, that has to be uprooted and they to be mixed in the soil is done. Then deep tillage is done to break the hard pan of the continuous you can say farming. Then subsoiling and year round tillage, so there the tillage operations, they are done one by one, so after some time some gap is there, then it is done. So the year-round tillage, and subsoiling is done generally to lay out the drainage and other things. So these are the different primary tillage. Generally the penetration of primary tillage is between 15 cm to 76 cm. So the objective of the primary tillage is to obtain a deep seed bed suitable for different type of crops, to add more humus and fertility to soil by covering the vegetation, to destroy and prevent weeds, to aerate the soil for proper growth of crops, to increase water absorbing capacity of the soil by increasing the pore space, to destroy the insects, pests and their breeding place by manipulating the and exposing them into the sunlight or light outside so that they are destroyed, to reduce the soil erosion. So these are the different soil tillage objective, primary tillage objective. So then let us discuss about optimum time for plowing. So basically after one crop is harvested, another crop has to be sown at what time. So basically the moisture content is very important for the plowing operation, the optimum time, right time you can say. So the when the soil moisture is available, generally the tillage operation cannot be done without soil moisture. But what is the content of the soil moisture content? So that is, if you see the soil, basically stickiness or soil can be called as substrate. So they are having some affinity with the soil, as well as it is having some affinity with the tools, where actually we will use the tools for the cutting the soils or plowing the soil. Therefore there are two things are there. One is the cohesion and adhesion, cohesive force you can say and adhesive force. Let us see, these are the soil particles, they are having their substrates, so they are having some cohesive force between them, and adhesive force when it is attached with some tools or other things when the operation is done. Therefore if you say moisture content versus the soil consistency, let us discuss. So dry soil, the cohesive factor and adhesive factor, how do you affect? First let us see cohesion from dry to moist to wet. So there some moisture content is increasing in the soil, so the looks like this. So this is called the cohesion factor. So cohesion at dry is very high and it reduces to wet, and when the soil is wet, the cohesive factor reduces almost very low level. But if you see the adhesive factor, so which is the stickiness with the tools or implements, so then the moist soil to you can say very wet or saturated soil, that means fully wet saturated soil, so then again increases the, if it is a very wet, then the adhesive factor is very high, and as well as its saturated condition it's very low. So if you have the combined effect of cohesion and adhesion, the curve will be looking like this. So therefore there will be some points, so like this point, so there will be minimum of the consistency will be there. That means the soil will be requiring less force. So therefore more energy is required, and large size clods are resulted when the soil is too dry and difficult to open, and when soil moisture increases, the soil sticks to the plow and the soil below the plow sole becomes compacted. Again, if it's more wet, it's problematic, because during the operation the hard pan is again constructed up below the soil, so more compaction will be there. So it is problematic, so that clods will be very hard to break again next subsequent plowing. Therefore the optimum range is between 25 to 50% depletion of available soil moisture, whatever the soil moisture content in the soil, so 25 to 50% in between this range, so the soil is actually plowed, or this is called the optimum type of plowing. So for light soils, so wider range of soil moisture condition can happen, so because of less stickiness. But for heavy soils, narrow range of moisture content, so you have to plan accordingly, so that it will be easy to plow and less force is needed for plowing. So that means the draft requirement will be less. So next, coming to the depth of plowing, what should be the depth of plowing for different crops? Generally depends on the effective root zone depth of the crops. So basically for taproot crops, deep plowing is needed. Fibrous and shallow rooted crops, shallow plowing is needed. Tea crops, deep tillage is needed, and field crops, shallow tillage is needed. And number of plowing, so depends on the how much percent breakage of soil needed. That means good tilth depends on basically soil type, weed problem, crop residue on the soil surface. On the basis of this, the number of plowing is generally decided. How much plowing is needed, how much time you have to plow the soil, same implement has to be operated. So basically heavy soils 3 to 5 times you have to plow, and light soils generally 1 to 3 times you have to plow. More weed growth and plant residue, that means more number of plowing is needed to destroy the weeds or whatever residues are there to mix with the soil. Next, coming to the different primary tillage implements. Let us discuss first of all the primary tillage implement is for opening and loosening of the soil. So generally it is called as plow or plow, you can say whatever. So generally it is say that in the case of machineries, so there are 3 things are there. So difference between tools and implements and machine, sometimes its confusion is there, so you need to be clarified. So first of all, tool is an individual working element such as disc or shovel. Then implement, generally it is a equipment generally having no drive, there is a power source, so moving parts it's not there. So generally combination of different tools, and they are combined into one you can say into frame, so therefore that will make it implement. So implement is a combination of tools and frame and other things, they are combined together, so without having driving force, so that is called the implement. And machine is basically a combination of rigid or resistant bodies having definite motion, so defined motion actually, and capable of performing useful work. So that means machine can only do the work. So basically it is a combination of implement and power source. So this is the basic difference between the tools, implement and machine. So it should be clear. So then what are the different plows? So plows can be wooden plow, you must have seen somewhere, and this is the country plow, sometimes called, and iron plows or inversion plows, which are the farm mechanization. It is the most important part, we will discuss later on. So the iron or inversion plows, generally wooden plows do not do the inversion work, hence there are different plows are there, special purpose plows. We will discuss everything in details in this lecture. So let us see types of plows. So depending on the purpose, soil condition and nature of weed, so plow can be classified as moldable plow, which is animal drawn to the situation or purpose is incorporation of manures, fertilizer and plant residue. Moldable plow for tractor drawn, deep plowing and inversion is needed. So we will discuss what is deep plowing and inversion later on. Disc plow or country plow, they are used for cutting or creeping or spreading grass and inversion also. Then chisel plow, excessive residue, rocks and stones, mostly for conservation tillage. Chisel plows are used because the mostly we don't disturb the hard pan and the surface. Then rotary plow is generally used for puddling clay soil, complete conversion is required and cutting of woods needed. Then subsoiler generally is used for deep plowing, tea plantation, drainage or laying operations we use. Next, wooden plow. So basically the country plow or desi plows, you can say wooden or indigenous plow made of wood with an iron share point. It is done with bullocks. Basically you must have seen it is having beam. This is body of the plow, there is a share point of this one, this is called the shoe type, this is the handle you have to see. So the wooden piece, so basically used to operate or control the plow. It generally cuts a V-shaped furrow and opens the soil, but no inversion is made. Basically when you V-shaped is there, it's not good, but generally therefore a number of plowing is needed here because there are unplowed strips is always left between the furrows, you can say. So this is unplowed land. Even with cross plowing also, means number of plow like this way and this way you plow, then again some patches remains unplowed. So generally the depth of country plow is adjusted by this roof. So if you tie with this yoke of the bullocks, this is yoke, or you can say this is shaft beam. When it is attached, if you shorten this one, then this shear point will be having more inclined and there will be more depth. So this is very important, you need to know. So how to control the depth of the country plow by just tying the roof more, so that the short beam is there. So this is the, and long beam less width depth will be there, and due to the control of this handle, more vertical weight is given on the plow. Then soil inversion plows, mostly soil inversion or turning plows. So that means the soil has to turn upside down, are made of iron and drawn by either a pair of or two pair of bullocks or tractor or power tiller, depending on the type of soil and number of means width of the plow. So basically moldable plow, most important plow in the case. So there is a separate lecture on moldable plow, so you can check that one. So we'll discuss on that lecture. So but here actually we will say this just leaves that moldable plow leaves no unplowed land, is the furrow slice cuts clean and inverted one side, resulting in better propagation. And it can be animal drawn moldable plow, which is very small, and generally it plows to a depth of 15 centimeter. And two moldable plow or three moldable plow generally are bigger in size. They are attached to the tractor, and basically they plow at a depth of 25 to 30 centimeter. So this is important. So you should know that to what depth moldable plows operate, and this is animal drawn, and this is one. And desi plow is generally 10 to 15 centimeter, maximum 15 centimeter. Less than that, it is generally operates. So basically, the main moldable plow inverts the soil. So therefore, it's called the inversion type plow. Then disc plow also we'll discuss in a separate chapter or lecture. So here it's also resembles common to the moldable plow, where it's there is a large revolving concave steel disc replaces the shear and the moldboard. So generally the disc turns the furrow slice to one side with a scooping action. So this means when it rotates, so it will just scoop the soil and to one side. Basically the size of the disc is 60 centimeter in 60 to 70 centimeter in diameter, and this turns around 30 to 35 centimeter furrow slice. It cuts basically the width of cut. So it is more suitable for land with much fibrous growth of weeds. Basically, if you compare with the moldable plow and disc plow, it operates. It is generally operated in more weed is there in the field. Generally, it efficiently cuts the weeds or grasses and incorporate into the soil. It also works in, but there is a certain disadvantage to this disc plow. It generally does not work in stony type of soil. Problems are there, so therefore it generally works in stone-free soil. There are also turn, rest or reversible plow or one-way plow, we can say. So there are moldable plows having number of shears are there. Two set of shears are there, same shear, but which can be reversed to the left or the right side. Like this is a two-way plow, and this is one-way plow, we can say, or reversible plow. The adjustment is there is a common shaft is there here, so which can be turned upside down. So this one can be up or down according to the requirement. So basically it is used for the hilly tracts, where actually the soil has to be thrown to only one side, not the opposite side. So therefore it is called the one-way plow also. Then subsoil plow. Subsoil plow is generally designed to break the hard layers of the pans without bringing them to the surface. Generally, it is the hard pan of the soil is broken for proper infiltration of the soil because of continuous use of heavy machinery. Generally, hard pan is created below the some subsurface soil. So therefore, you need to break it for proper drainage purpose. Basically, it is used. So after 3-4 years, you need to use the subsoil plow. So like this, either it's having 1 or 3 bottoms are there. So the body is wedge shaped, narrow, so that it can go very deep. The shear is very wide, so shatter the hard pan and making only a slot on the top layer. So basically, if you see this is the soil, so it makes a very small layer, and here actually it bakes the soil here. They are deep, so that So this is the mark is done. So here actually you can lay the drain or any other things. So basically it is done the lower surface of the soil. Then chisel plow, basically it breaks the hard one and for deep plowing with fewer disturbance of to the top layer. So basically this is similar to subsoiler, but here chisel plow is little different. Here actually this is used for deep plowing, but that one is basically the breakage of the hard pan. So it is equipped with narrow double-ended shovels or chisel points mounted on the long shanks. So you can say this is shank and these are the actually double-ended shovels. So you can see here these points rip through the soil and stir it, but do not invert or do not pulverize the soil. It's a moldable plow, disc plow. So basically moldable plow and disc plow inversion takes place, but here the stirring of the soil at the lower level, not the top level. So it does not disturb the top level. So generally it contains a replaceable shear to setter at the lower layers. Then ridge plow. So basically to make the ridge. So this plow has two moldable plows, one for turning the soil to the right and another to the left. So basically if you see, this is one moldboard and another moldboard. So two and the opposite direction. So this will throw the soil to this side and this will throw the soil to this side. So generally the shear is common for both the moldboard plow, which is double winged. So and these moldboard plows are mounted on a common body. So this is the common body, and it is used to split the field into ridges and furrows and for covering the sugarcane with the soil or earthing up of crops like cotton, etc. So generally it is used to make broad bed and furrows by attaching two ridges. Basically instead of one, two can be made or three can be made at the same time. 150 centimeter spacing between, generally 1 to 1. So this is the broad ridge is made. Next is the rotary plow or rotary hose. So basically it cuts the soil and pulverizes. So it's either tractor drawn or power tiller drawn. So its cutting of the soil is done by either blades of tines. These are the blades or tines, and different type of blades are used. L type, the C type. These are used actually widely, and depth of cut is generally 12 to 15 centimeter. For this type of rotary hose, generally it's a active tillage implement, and rotary plow is more suitable for light soils, so that it is generally primary and secondary is done at one go. Basin lister. So the basin lister is another heavy implement with one or two moldable boards or shovels, you can say here. So this is the shovel, two or one. These shovels are mounted on a special type of frame on which they act alternately. So basin lister, and this is used to form furrows, broken furrows with small dams and basins to prevent free runoff, or basically to make bonds and other things. So to one side or both sides. So it is generally made. Then coming to these are the basically primary tillage implements. Coming to the secondary tillage. So in secondary tillage, lighter or finer operations are performed on the soil after primary tillage, is known as the secondary tillage. So after plowing, the fields are left with large clods with some weeds and partially uprooted stubbles. So secondary tillage needed to cross that big clods and to uproot the remaining weeds and stubbles, and also mix with the soil. So leveling is needed to be done to smoothen the surface soil and to compact the soil little lighter, so that the seeds or plants can bloom comprehensively. The fields needs to be made ready for the sowing. Basically before the sowing, the secondary tillage operations are made. So in broad term, the objective of secondary tillage operation is to improve the seed bed by greater pulverization of the soil. So more pulverization is done in the secondary tillage operation, and to destroy the grasses and weeds or weed seeds in the field, as well as to cut the crop residue and mix them into the topsoil. Also to break the big clods and to make the field surface uniform and leveled. So basically leveling and other things are also part of this secondary tillage operation. So let us say secondary tillage. What are the different secondary tillage implements? First of all, the cultivators. We will discuss harrows, planks and rollers. These are the basics of secondary tillage implements. So we will discuss. Next, tractor done cultivator. So generally the tractor done cultivator is used for finer operations like breaking clods and working the soil to a fine tilth for preparing seedbed. So it is also called the tiller or tooth harrow. So basically, to further loosen the previously plowed land before sowing, the tractor done cultivator is used to destroy the weeds after plowing. It is generally the tines are arranged in two rows and in staggering positions of tines to provide clearance between the tines so that clods and plants residue can freely pass through the without blocking. So basically in the staggering manner, so it is done. If you frame, then two rows, let it be one or two. So here if it's this one like this, so it's and this is the staggering manner, so that so basically whatever the soil passes, so it passes through like this. Otherwise, if here it will be there, then it's very difficult to pass through the soil and plant residues. So basically the tines varies from 7 to 13 and depending on the width of total width of the cultivator. The sweep cultivator is in stubble mulch farming. So where mulching is very important, stubbles are used for mulching. Due to clogging, sweep cultivators are generally used or which are suitable mostly for their purpose. Generally it consists of large inverted V-shaped blades, so which are attached to the cultivator frame. You can see here, and blades run parallel to the soil surface at a depth of 10 to 15 cm. So basically the distance from this one to one is around 10 to 15 cm. They are arranged in two rows, again staggered like the tractor done cultivator, and it cuts a depth of 12 to 15 cm during the first operation and still shallower during the subsequent operation. So basically the less shallower is this one. So if this is less depth, more depth, and this is less depth, because subsequently it is done, so that more smoothing of the top surface is done. Generally it is used to control weeds and harvesting groundnuts in many parts of the world. So basically it is used for harvesting also. Coming to the harrows, generally harrows are used for shallow cultivation in operations such as preparation of seedbed, covering seeds and destroying weed seedlings. So there are different types of harrows: disc harrow, spike tooth harrow, spring tooth harrow, rotary cross harrow, triangular harrow and acme harrow. Also blade harrows are there. So blade harrows are just like it's having long blades are there. In the active tillage tool, there is a reciprocating harrow, or it's called the power harrow. So we'll discuss little about this power harrow. First of all, disc harrow, which performs the harrowing operation by means of a set of rotating discs, just like disc plow. So it's the extension of disc plow, but having number of discs are there in a gang. So each set being mounted on a common shaft, which is called the gang. So it is suitable for hard ground with full of stalks and grasses, so that it cuts easily. Cutting of the grass and other things is required, just like the disc plow. The disc harrows are suitable for trachy soil. So it cuts the lumps of the soil, plots and roots. Discs are generally mounted on one, two or more axles, which may be set as variable angle to the line of motion. We will they will call a disc angle arrangement and the gang angle. So depending upon the disc arrangement, disc harrows are divided into two class: single action and double action. So what is single action disc harrow? So it is a harrow which two gang placed. Gang is the combination of many discs in one common shaft, is called the gang. So it is harrow with two gang placed end to end with an angle greater than 90 degree. So basically if you see, so they are more than 90 degree angle, they are just placed end to end gangs. So this is single acting, so one row is there. So the discs are arranged in opposite direction on both gangs, so that the right side gang throws the soil towards right and the left side. So basically if you see, so this is the line of travel, and this is the this is the left and this is the right. So right gang through the soil to the right and left gang soil the through the soil to the left. It's very simple. So the only one pass is there and it looks like this. So this is one gang, this is another gang. So like 1 and 2. Then double action disc arrow, or which is also called as tandem disc arrow. So often called as, because of the set of two gangs, tandemly they are used. That means two gangs follows behind the front gangs, and they are arranged in such a way that the discs of the front gang through the soil in one direction and the discs on the rear gangs through the soil in opposite direction, just like this. So this is the line of travel. So the front gang or the single acting, just like same as single acting, the left one throwing the soil to the left, and right one is to the right, but the back one just opposite, the left one through the soil to the right and right one soil to the through the soil to the left. So this is very simple. So this looks like this. So 4 gangs are there at least. So 2 front and 2 back. So this is called the spool, and there is a common frame is there. The discs are arranged in such a way that there is a gang angle is there, and generally they are called as tandem disc arrow. Then there is a simple change in offset disc arrow. There is the half of the tandem disc arrow. So which is called the offset disc arrow. One right hand gang and one left hand gang. So operating in tandem. So now you can see. So that means instead of 2, there is one half of the front and half of the back is here. So this is the line of travel, and the front gang, if it's throwing the soil to the left is there, and this is the also left of the back, that is soil is thrown to the right of the gang. So this is called the offset disc arrow. So this arrows is given the name because of the arrows are operated can be in offset position, because this is, if you see the line of travel, so this is little offset. Instead of this is the line of travel, this line is little offset to this one, so that this length can be outside the tractor. So therefore this is called the offset disc arrow or offset position in relation to the tractor. So here is the change in the hitch point. Can there is little you can just adjust this hitch point. So you can see here, this is the frame. So this is the one gang, one, this is 2, or this is the front and this is the back, that can be adjusted in this frame, so that this offset can be adjusted. So this, instead of this line, the line can be here or here, so that therefore according to the requirement we can change. So this is called the offset disc arrow. So either this one can be little this side and this one can be this side. So the width can be also changed. So it is possible to operate the harrow on the limbs near trees in orchard crops. So basically the tree crop is there. So there is branches are there. The tractor cannot go to the very side of the this the stem. So therefore it can be travel here, and this can be the offset disc arrow can be used, so that the near to the tree the operation can be done. So this is generally used for the orchard crops. You should remember this. Sometimes actually questions are asked. Next, let us little discuss about the parts of the disc arrow. Basically, disc plow and disc arrow are little similar, but disc arrow is little different. So if you see in the disc arrow, first of all there is a discs. So basically disc is made of heat treated hardened steel. Tractor and disc arrows have concave size of around 35 to 70 centimeter diameter, depending on the size. Then each gang has a number of discs are arranged in this one. So each set of discs mounted on the common shaft is called the gang, already discussed. Then gang bolt or arbor bolt. So it's a long square headed bolt. So you can see here. So let us say this is a square bolt. On that one, the discs are mounted on the gang bolt. The spacing between the discs is generally 15 to 25 on the gang, and in between that there is a spool. So you can see So like this is a disc, this is a disc, another disc. So this is the common shaft. So it's a square bolt, and in between there will be spool, so that the spacing can be maintained properly. So gang angle is the angle between the axis of the gang and the direction of the travel. You can say that this is the direction of travel, and there is the gang, this one. So this is the angle. This angle is called the gang angle. Then control lever, there is a control lever. You can see here, so which is used to change the gang angle of the gang, which alters the width of the operation. Operation width will be increased. So instead of this, if you make like this, so more width will be there, less width will be there if you make the more gang angle. Then spool or spacer already discussed. The flange tube. So the between the if you see, this is the bolt. So this is the number of discs. Then this is the spool or spacer. Bearing, there is a tilt cast iron bearing are used, and more durable than other type of bearing. Transport wheel is also there. So to transport the mounted type of harrows do not require transport work. So in broad, so this is the bolt, then this is the spacer. You can see this is a bolt. You can see the square one is there. So this is a square bolt. And transport wheel. Then scrapers are there also sometimes. Scrapers are attached to remove the soil that may stick to the concave side of the disc, which working and thus prevents clogging of the disc. Then weight works is generally additional weight is applied on the implement to increase the penetration of the soil disc on the soil. Then there are different adjustment of better penetration. There are several factors which affects the penetration of the disc here in the field. Penetration can be increased by increasing the gang angle, adding the weight, lowering the hitch point, using sharp edges, discs of small diameter and lesser concavity. Then speed can be also regulated to having more penetration. So basically penetration is better in low speed than high speeds. Then spike tooth harrow. So generally spike tooth harrow has teeth resembling long spikes that stir the soil. These harrows are also known as peg tooth harrow. So you can see here, these are the pegs or spikes. So to drag the soil, section harrow or smoothing the harrow, smoothing harrow it is also called. So it may be used to cultivate corn, cotton and other crops in early stage of their growth. The sections range from 1.2 to 1.7 meter. The sections of 1.2 meter to 1.7 meter having 25, 30 or 35 teeth. So several sections may be attached to a hitch bar. So you can see this is a common hitch point, and one or two or many sections can be attached for a wider width or swath. The sections may be rigid or flexible. So these sections might be flexible or rigid, and sometimes there is a guard. So just like here, so there is a guard to guard the whatever the after the operation everything is to be guarded, and rails you can say across the ends of the bar, which are called the closed end harrow. So end is closed, and if the end is not there, then it is to be open end harrow. Coming to the animal done spike tooth harrow. So basically the animal done spike tooth harrow is rigid type. So this may or may not be having provision for changing the angles of the spikes in during the operating condition, because there are no adjustments. This harrow mainly consists of teeth. So there are teeth, tooth bar, you can say, guardrail, clamps, base, levers and other things. The teeth are made of hardened steel with square, triangular or circular section. The teeth are also placed on tooth bar that no tooth is directly behind the others. So basically in staggered manner. So you can see here, so not one behind others. So they are just opposite line. Then spring tooth harrow. So generally the sections vary in width from 0.9 to 1.7 meter. The depth 2 is the teeth will penetrate the soil, is controlled by adjusting the angle. So angle can be adjusted by having levers. In this case you can see adjusting lever is here. So by adjusting this, so this inclination of this can be adjusted. So therefore the depth can be adjusted. Spring tooth harrows are adapted for use in rough and stony ground. So in stone ground, so this will just jump over the stones, so that there will be less damage. So there will be cushioning effect of this cutting edge. They are also used extensively to loosen previously plowed soil ahead of the grain drill. So generally drilling seed drill used before the use of seed drill, this type of spring tooth harrows are used. The teeth which penetrates deeper than these on the spike tooth harrow, and they will give, when obstructions are there, they will get out of the system. The spring tooth harrow is also called the quack grass and Bermuda grass eradicator, since the teeth penetrate deeply, tears out the root of the weed. Then Acme harrow, so it is the special type of animal dung harrow having rigid, you can say transverse horizontal frame with steep curved blade. So you can see here, so the curved blades are there, so and they are steep, also known as the blade harrow. So curved knife or tooth harrow, you can say, also called the pulverizer. So this front part of the knife breaks the soil. So you can see, so this part of the knife break the soil and crushes the clod also. So this harrow generally obtains good pulverization. It is good for creating soil mulching. Then triangular harrow, so it is also spike tooth harrow having triangular frame. So the frame is made of wood, and pointed spikes are generally fitted on the frame with number of holes. So the teeth of the spikes are fixed and not adjustable. So there can be very little adjustment can be done in this triangular harrow. Generally this is animal dung. So it is generally used for breaking the clods and smoothing the soil surface. Then blade harrow, which is called as bakar or guntaka. So it is an animal dung implement also, which is used to prepare seed beds in clay soils mostly, and soil mulching is required, so that you can see this one is open and this one is a blade. So for conservation of the soil moisture, so especially the you can say the top part is little disturbed. So it consists of one or more blades attached to the beam. So this is the beam, and this is the cutting edge, you can say, and this is the handle to control. So it generally works in shallow depth with minimum or less soil inversion. Then power harrow we are talking about, which is tractor dung, and it's called the active tillage implement. Remember, this is active, means power is given to the tool itself. So mostly in the other cases the power is not given to the tool, only power is used to draw them actually, so pull them. But in this case direct power is given to the tool. So a power harrow tills the soil, maintaining the same profile of the field. It pulverizes the upper and lower layer of the soil without turning them upside down. Basically it's just having the reciprocating motion of the tools up and down. So therefore it just shakes the soil, do not disturb the soil, means it doesn't just like the inversion, everything is not done here. So therefore it forms a good seed bed as well as a good soil mulching. So where mulching is needed, so it is done. So generally it consists of two horizontal crossbars, you can say. Crossbars are there, fitted with the rigid pegs are there. Here a number of pegs are there, and generally they reciprocates, taking power from the PTO shaft. So here power is taking from this PTO shaft. So tractor dung, the pegs are generally spaced between 1:1, 20 centimeter or 200 millimeter wide, and are staggered. So if you see in this one, there are number of pegs are there, and there is a power, and there is two crossbars are there. And when the two bars moves opposite directions, the implement is dynamically balanced. The oscillating pegs breaks the clods and pulverize the soil into final teeth. The width of the operation is around 2 1000 millimeter or 2 meter, and the field capacity is around 1.5 hectare per day. Then soil scope. Soil scope is also a special implement used to excavate ditches, clearing drains, and doing cuts and fill jobs of the land leveling. So it consists of a trough, a blade, hitching loop, and handle. Soil scopes are available both animal drawn or tractor drawn. So generally blade made of carbon steel, high carbon steel, having 0.5 to 0.6% carbon. The angle of cutting blade is varying from 12 to 15 degree. So this is the cutting angle. So soil trough, this one is the soil trough made of mild steel and shaped into a trough. Hitching loop, it is made of mild steel. So you can see this one, this is the hitching loop. Here you can see this one is the hitching loop, and connecting the soil scope to the animal or tractor. Then there is a handle. So in the animal drawn there is a handle, and the tractor drawn their handle is not required. So it is done by the hydraulic system of the tractor for the movement. Then levelers. Land leveling is also a improvement done to the agricultural land. It is also carried out to smoothen the contours of the land to achieve certain desirable objective for efficient agricultural production. So basically the leveling is very important to level the land. So and for proper maintaining of the soil moisture or during irrigation is very important. So purpose of leveling is efficient application of irrigation water, improved soil surface drainage, minimizing the soil erosion. These are the three things there is, and also most important is the conservation of rainwater in dry lands. Animal drawn leveler, which consists of a wooden leveling board with handle. In the front portion of the board, two hooks are provided connecting the yoke to the animals. Plank and roller. Planks are very simple implements, consist of heavy wooden beams 2 meter length. In addition, shafts and handles are fixed to the beams. When it is worked, most of the clods are crossed due to the weight of the plank. This also helps in micro leveling and sliding compaction necessary after sewing. So rulers are also used. Similar things are there, only weights are there. So basically the rulers are used to cross the hard soil clods and also compact the soil in seed rows.